Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Crossing the Line. My name is Matt Entrican, your host. With me is my partner, Sean Sullivan. Sean, I'm feeling very Olympic today, in the words of Cool Running star Sanka Coffee, as the Olympics have postponed and we got a little Olympics talk today. How about you? How you doing?
Do a little bit of foreshadowing there. I also like our maroon memo we got going on today.
Twinning.
Completely accidental, but it's always a good sign.
Completely accidental. That's just telling you the hands of fates are with Crossing the Line today. All right, and with that, let's get into the first topic of the day. Over the weekend, Juwan Howard stirred up a little bit of drama when after his team finished up a game against the Wisconsin Badgers in a 13-point loss, he started a little bit of a scuffle with Washington assistant coach and did some sort of half-hit, half-slap punch against him. And now questions are being raised. Should Juwan Howard be fired? Should he be suspended? So now we are here to talk about it. Sean, what do you think?
I mean, obviously, a firing Juwan Howard for situations like this, a little bit excessive. But, a little bit of a scuffle is maybe a little bit of an understatement. We're not talking Mouse and the Palace level stuff here, but definitely not a good thing. A terrible look for Michigan. You can't do that as a coach, as a leader. You're supposed to be, the coolant factor. Obviously, it's okay to get a little bit fired up, but that doesn't mean throw forearm shivers like the little football slap punch thing that happens there every now and then. So I'm saying at least a 2-game suspension here. Some may say it's going a little bit light. I think that's fair. Hopefully he learns his lesson, but just overall, these past month, February has not been overly fantastic to Michigan coaches. Jim Harbaugh trying to leave, go to Minnesota. Minnesota says, we don't really want you. So then Jim Harbaugh's going like, oh no, I wanted to be here the whole time. It's like, did you? Did you though? So it's just kind of a tough little period there for Michigan coaches.
Yeah, I hear you, Sean. I don't really think Jim Harbaugh wants to be coaching at Michigan either right now. Not really much of a contest when you're going up against those Power 5 SEC teams. Anyway, but I do agree with you. Juwan Howard should be suspended, shouldn't be fired. I'm not into the whole cancel culture thing. Give people another chance. Now, with that being said, this is his second strike. 3 strikes and you're out. Here's my big thing with Juwan Howard, though. For college basketball players, the single most important person in their life is their coach. Not their mom, not their dad, they're not there. Not their friends. They're not going to be good influence on them. It is their coach. They are solely responsible for teaching them all these different values in life. And conflict resolution, that's one that's going to stay with you for your whole life. That doesn't just end after basketball. That's staying around. That's sticking around. Marriage, work, wherever. You got to know how to resolve conflict. And Juwan Howard, he's been doing it with hostile language, violence, and anger. And that's not the way to do it.
Yeah, forearm shiver is definitely not a good lesson to be teaching these basketball players here.
Yeah, you got to be a role model. You got to show your players how to deal with these situations. Now, granted, he is not the first coach to get angry.
Probably won't be the last either.
Yeah, as long as he refrains from throwing chairs, hitting his own players,
yeah.
I think he should keep his job. But I think a lengthy suspension, I think it's got to be more than a few games. A lot of people are saying, Jay Williams, Stephen A. Smith were saying, suspend him for the rest of the season, but let him keep his job. I don't know. I think, a few weeks in that ballpark.
Guess we'll have to find out.
Well, Juwan Howard, I like you, I respect you, but try to stay a little bit calmer.
Be better
on the courts there. All right. Topic number 2. The Olympics closed up over the weekend, and everybody loves the Olympics, winter, summer, it's all fun. But we asked today, which winter sport should not be a sport? Sean, what do you think?
Well, this one's pretty amusing for me. I'm going to have to go with the sport that I feel was made up on the spot. The Olympics, they probably have their Olympic meeting. They get together, like, we need four ice-themed sports to do outside. And the guy shows up like, okay, what are your ideas? Like, oh, that was today? Okay, I got, we'll do this guy in a sled. There'll be 4 of them, and we'll call it bobsled. He's like, okay, I love it. Okay, what other one? Oh, another one. Let's do someone on one sled, and they're going feet down the ice thing. He's like, oh my God, I love it. Do you have one more? And he's like, make him do head first too. It's like, okay, skeleton was invented. And skeleton, for me, there's the danger factor involved. But if there's any sport that you could definitely tell was made to try to one-up one person and like impress a girl or something like that, it was skeleton. This dude probably liked this one girl, and he's like, "Oh, you like that luge guy? Well, let's have it to where I'll do it head first." And he's like, "Oh, really?" So skeleton just seems just so ridiculous to me, incredibly dangerous, and it's just a sport that doesn't like. Many sports we watch them, and they look like they could be fun. Skeleton does not look like it could be fun.
Skeleton doesn't look like it could be fun?
No.
It's sledding. Everybody loves sledding.
You're sledding on an icy path going dome first. And
Yeah.
if you do one haywire turn, you're going neck first, and that's game over.
You know, Sean, Liam Hemsworth once said in the movie Rush, the closer to death you are, the more alive you feel. And I bet those skeleton racers feel hella alive, man.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I just think there's other, like, sports that, like, just make more sense. You know what I mean?
Like what? What would you add to the Winter Olympics, Sean?
What would I add to the Winter
Yeah,
Olympics?
give me a sport better than skeleton. You can't.
Oh, crushed ice. You ever heard of crushed ice?
No.
So basically what it is like these like ramps and stuff, and these guys, they're in full hockey gear without sticks, and there's like 4 of them, and they race. It's like this Red Bull event. It's actually pretty cool. They start at the top of this hill, and they bomb it down in the racing. It's like a combination of like luge and like snowboard cross put together, and they'll like be bumping each other, and they have to go off these like jumps and stuff like that, and there's always like these spectacular finishes. Crushed ice, if you guys are watching at home, it is electric, and it needs to be in the Olympics.
Okay, so basically skeleton with more people.
Well, you're upright, though. You're like in control. You can kind of like, within reason, you can stop more. Like, how do you stop on a skeleton?
You don't, man.
Exactly.
That's the danger factor. That's why it's awesome. That's what makes the sport real. It's the intensity. It's the tension, man.
The thrill.
The thrill.
Let me turn this one to you. Let's go a little bit more Summer Olympics. We were talking about this a little bit off camera. But for a Summer Olympic that maybe should be taken off, I think tennis maybe has run its course in the Olympics. Not because you and I both come from a tennis background, right?
Sure.
We both played some tennis, both like tennis, but you know, the whole thing of the Olympics is just to represent your country. These players that are playing on the ATP Tour, they already are representing their country. It's Roger Federer from Switzerland. It's Rafael Nadal from Spain. So they're already representing their country. It's kind of like putting a hat on a hat. You feel me?
I do agree with you. Also, it does always feel like the Olympics for tennis always take a back seat to the actual majors for tennis.
The big guys never even seem like Djokovic. Is it Djokovic or Nadal? They sat out the last like Rio Olympics.
Well, they sit out everything. Looks, Nadal does at least.
So basically, are you saying after all of this, we should be suspecting in 2020, was it 6 when the next Olympics are, we're going to be seeing Matt Andrikin in the skeleton?
I mean, just in the words of Tom Brady, never say never.
Never say never. Alrighty.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to our third and final topic of the day. Over the weekend, it was the NBA All-Star Weekend. We had the underwhelming slam dunk contest, and of course, last night's thrilling All-Star Game. And so now Sean and I are going to talk about all All-Star Games with a new segment we called Take 'em or Scrape 'em. Do we love it or do we hate it? Sean, should All-Star Games be taken or scraped? Scraped?
Well,
Scrapped.
Scrapped it did. Well, I think they should be. I think All-Star Games, for the most part, they've run their course. The Pro Bowl is absolutely pathetic. For the past 3 years in a row, it turned into two-hand touch halftime, and we prevented Mac Jones from scoring a touchdown after he hit that gritty. It called back, got the two-hand touch thing, and you know the Pro Bowl, they're trying to add this skills competition. It hasn't turned out. It was a dud. They were outside wherever the Pro Bowl was located. It looked like it was freezing cold. No one wanted to be there, and the Pro Bowl game itself was awful. And then we go to the NHL All-Star Game, which I do like how they broke it down to the conferences. It's a little bit more of a fast-paced, sort of a scrimmage you'd have in practice, and they play somewhat hard. And the skills competition for the All-Star Game, NHL All-Star Game, I think is one of the better skills competition out of all the All-Star Games. You have the trick shot shootout thing, fastest skater. Pretty exciting, and like you said, the NBA All-Star Game left the slam dunk contest at least left a lot to be desired there. One of the worst ones we've had in a while, and you know it's kind of hard to say. I'm sure it came down to a last shot, but it's kind of hard to say it's a competitive game when the final score was 163 to something.
Sean, are you not doing your research? The finishing score was 163 to 161. Now, I will agree with you on the NFL. That's kind of a mess. Screw the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
NHL, that's cool. But the NBA All-Star Weekend is something that needs to be preserved. Slam dunk contest, that is a staple, cornerstone of basketball culture. Now, the All-Star Game, I was skeptical too. then I tuned in last night, and man, let me tell you something. It was like watching the Harlem Globetrotters in a serious version, in a serious way. I mean, because they were trying all these crazy shots, these super cool passes, but it was different. It was more serious. It was the NBA doing it. So it's it's the best basketball players in the world. It's trick shots, but it's the legitimate basketball. They're playing hard. The game was close.
They're playing hard.
They were playing hard. Now defense, they were playing off. Defense was another question. But if you watched the last 5 minutes of that game, you would have been thrilled.
Doesn't it discredit though the sort of shtick of playing hard? If, they're not playing defense, how can you say they're playing hard? Yeah, sure, Steph Curry's playing hard, where he's chucking up these just over half-court shots.
He's trying to set the record.
But he already does that in a game. He already does that.
This was the problem. He does it in a game, he does it in an All-Star game.
It makes it less special is what I'm saying.
He was just trying to get the record. See, it's the All-Star game. You can have a little bit more fun. It's a little more spectacle. You can see the things that you really want to see in the game, in the regular season, in the All-Star game.
Yeah. Thrilling, really
it really was. If you had watched the ending of the game, you would have known. I mean, LeBron James, game winner.
Cleveland, this is for you. We've heard
it
before. We've heard it
was
before.
A great
LeBron.
Moment. It was special.
LeBron.
That was awesome. The best basketball players in the world, all trying to do their best offensive moves. It was beautiful. Poetry in motion.
Defense wins championships.
No, this is the NBA, and as it goes, everybody says. Nobody plays NBA and nobody plays defense in the NBA anyway. But nevertheless, we're going to move on. Sean and I will have to agree to disagree once again. And with that, we're going to move on to our final segment of the day. It is our shout-outs.
You're taking this one away.
I'm going to take this one away. All right. And I am shouting out the Jamaican bobsled team for performing in this year's Olympics for the first time since 1998. Also, kind of making a reprise to the 1988 Cool Runnings team that inspired a amazing Disney movie. And even though they finished last in every sport that they entered, still quite the inspiration, I would say.
Inspiration story already.
Sean, what you got for me?
College baseball, it's back and better than ever, and we already had one of the Catch of the Year contenders from Derek Orndorff, the center fielder for Liberty. Absolute highlight reel catch, went back to the back fence, absolute leaping, diving effort, fantastic. Check it out on the Wheels YouTube channel where they have college baseball breakdowns. Or it's on the SEC Top 10. It was one of the Catch of the Year. And we're already week 1 in college baseball, and we're getting this level of play from the outfielders with these spectacular catches. It's going to be a very exciting college baseball season, much like it will be here on campus, as well as baseball and softball are underway here on campus.
That's right. Go Mesa baseball. Very sad. We got to get that national championship this year.
It's time. It's our time.
It's time.
It's our year.
It's time. All right, guys. That is going to do it for us on this week's episode of Crossing the Line. I'm your host, Matt Entrican.
I'm Sean Sullivan. We will see you next week.
Peace.